Hi, I'm Aston, and this is Granola and Grits Homestead. Today is February the 19th, and we're starting some of our early spring seedlings. So I thought I would bring you along. So what I have here is a 72 cell seedling tray. And these are by Fairy Morse, and they're called the Pro Hex Professional Seed Starting Tray. It comes with the tray, or with the cells and a tray so you can bottom water. And then it also has a plastic dome that goes over the top, but I'm not going to be using that because I have an indoor greenhouse that I use. So what I'm doing today is I'm starting some of the stuff that will need to go out in the garden as soon as the soil is workable, which is just going to be in a few weeks. And then some of the stuff that I'm starting won't go out until after last frost, but it requires a long germination period. And because our growing season's not super long here in zone 6B, New Jersey, we need to start some of our, like hot peppers need to be really early so that they have a really good head start by the time they go in the ground in May. Actually, these will probably go in the ground in June. So we're really ahead of the game here. So what I'm going to start with are my hot peppers, because I want those to be on the side, because I'm going to need to put a heat mat underneath peppers. So we're going to start with our chocolate habaneros. Now I tried to grow these last year and I didn't give them nearly enough time to germinate, so they didn't do anything, and I was really bummed because they looked really great. But we're gonna give them another try this year, because with gardening, if all else fails, there's always next year. So I'm going to chocolate habanero. I'm using, I have an old pair of mini blinds that got broken, so I'm using pieces of the mini blind and then cut in half vertically so that it fits in the tray. And I'm just gonna stick that right in the side here. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stick 2 seeds in each cell. And there's 6 cells on this row, so I'm gonna be basically planting 12 of these habaneros and hope that they do well. So what I'm doing is I'm just planting them on opposite sides of each other and the seed starting medium. Oh, and I am using, I'm using Jiffy Natural and Organic Seed Starting Mix. This has vermiculite, I think, perlite. It's got either coconut coir or peat moss, I can't remember. It's got like some lime and some blood meal. So this is the medium that we use to start our seeds. It's very loamy and soft, so root systems have a really strong starting point. So I'm gonna bring the camera over here so you can see. As you can see, I've just dropped a couple of seeds in there, and then I'm just going to lightly cover those with the soil. So I'm just kind of pushing them down in there, lightly covering them. With seeds, you want to plant them as deep as they are long. So a lot of these seeds are so tiny that you really don't want to cover them too much, otherwise they won't germinate. So I'm just tucking them in there and then just scooting a little bit of the seed starting mix on top of them. Oh, that one went down way too far. But this is why we start extras, just in case. And that's it for chocolate habaneros. Yay! First seeds of the season started. I'm so excited. And I'm gonna move through these, I guess, in order of hotness. So the next peppers that I'm gonna do are these Tabasco hot pepper plants. Now, I don't need a whole lot of these. I'm probably only gonna plant like 2 in each of 3 cells, because I don't need very many of these plants. These put out a ton of peppers, and we don't eat these peppers. These are for making like a hot pepper vinegar. That's what my plan is for these. I grew them last year, and when I harvested them, I underestimated the amount of moisture that's inside them, so they went bad before I could get them to go in the vinegar. But this year's the year. And I'm just sliding these little markers right in the edge there. I don't want them to disturb any seeds. These are so tiny. I mean, not as tiny as like carrots or tomato seeds, but they're pretty small. And we're gonna do the same thing. We're just gonna drop 2 each in here. We are now at, I think, 30 days to the official start of spring. And I know that every year, oh, we're done there. I know that every year I get so excited for the start of spring, and then my hopes are dashed because it's freezing cold all of March and all of April and half of May, and sometimes even into June we have cooler than I would like weather. But there's still something about that point in the calendar when you know that the days of like real winter are behind you. And it hasn't been that bad this year, but I definitely miss green things growing outside. I just love our backyard in the summer when everything's in bloom because it's just so beautiful out there. Okay, so we're gonna do the same. We're gonna do 3 cells with, these are called Tam jalapenos. And these are a really mild jalapeno. They're not very spicy. And so I got these thinking these would be really good for the kids. The kids actually do like spicy things. Like they will blow through a bag of jalapeno potato chips and you can hear them in here like gasping for something to drink. And as soon as they cool their mouth off, they're right back into the bag. So they don't shy away from the spicy stuff at all. But I thought these would be good for making things like jalapeno poppers, just so that we don't damage their digestive tracts at this early age. So I'm excited to give these a try. I do love jalapenos, and stuffed jalapenos or jalapeno poppers are my favorite. All right, so next up are blackened peppers. These are kind of like black jalapenos. They look really pretty. This says they're mildly hot, so I've never had these before. I'm excited to try them. I like to plant things that are different, so I am easily swayed by a purple or a black or a like oddly colored pepper, or any vegetable actually. Now that I think about it, I probably could have gotten away with just doing 6 of the chocolate habaneros, but I struggled so much with them last year that I really just want to make sure that I get at least a couple of plants this year. Alright, so that's it for our hot peppers. And now we can go into our sweet peppers. So a couple things I'm really excited about growing are these orange bell peppers. Orange bell peppers are my favorites of the bell peppers. I can't say that they're my favorite of all time, but I do love a really crisp, juicy orange bell pepper. So these are called coral bells. I suppose we'll just go ahead and do 3 for these. I can always plant a little bit more if I get to the end of this and have extra space. I'm trying to maximize the amount of things that I plant in here because my little indoor greenhouse isn't huge. And while this little tray will fit great, I mean, like I can put at least one of these on each of my shelves, and I've got 4 shelves. 5? 4 shelves. Once I have to pot up these into a bigger pot, they won't all fit. So I definitely don't want to use up all of my space, especially, I mean, once things like, well, I'm gonna plant some broccoli and some collards and stuff like that, and those will be going out in the garden in March. So let's see what's next. King of the North. Those are just your basic, and I'll show you. These are just your basic green bell peppers that ripen to red. We planted these last year and they were really good. They actually, I should have planted them earlier, but for the time that I had given them, they did remarkably well. We definitely had a decent crop of bell peppers from these. And I'm hoping that by starting them earlier this year and trying a few new things that I'll get even more fruit and bigger fruit than last year. Every year is a learning experience in the garden. No matter how long you've been doing it, every year you can find a better way of doing things, a different way of doing things. Last year was my first year to start things from seed, and there was definitely a lot of trial and error, a lot of success. I mean, I had almost 100% germination in everything except for these stinking hot peppers. But you know, I still managed to find better ways of doing things. So I'm definitely excited to take the lessons I learned from I don't call them failures because it's only a failure if you don't plant the seed at all. But I definitely learned from my, I guess my mistakes, learned from my experiences. A lot of last year's gardening woes were due more so to the weather than anything else. But there was definitely a learning curve in learning when to plant things, when to start things. I was a little bit behind the 8 ball last year on starting things because I was not used to starting a garden so early in the year. You know, we usually buy our starts from big box stores and they don't put the good stuff out until the weather's warmer. And so there were some years that we didn't get a garden in the ground until May or until June, you know, and it's just the way it is sometimes. But I definitely figured out that there are some things that could benefit from a longer germination period. All right, so, I'm gonna start my greens and brassicas on this side because I think I want to keep the middle maybe for herbs. Keep all this cold weather stuff away from the heat mat if I can help it. So we are going to start with broccoli. This is Waltham 29 broccoli. It's from Baker Creek. So very early indoors it says. So let's get this started. And I love broccoli and I want a lot of broccoli. So I'm definitely going to plant 2 in each row. Probably just misspelled broccoli. Oh, I did not. I spelled it right. And I'm going to do, oh my gosh, these are so tiny. Tiny little seeds. I don't know if you can see that. Look at that. Hold on. Oh my gosh, they've gotten into the folds of my hands and I'm a little afraid I might lose some. Like this, how teeny tiny they are. So I'm just gonna, don't breathe on it. Oops. Well, there might be 3 in that one. I don't know. They're also the same color as this dirt, so it is very difficult to see what you're doing. I sowed these directly into the garden last year and I got one little teeny tiny head of broccoli well after the sun or the heat of the season usually kills them off, and so it was definitely, I should not have waited to direct sow broccoli in the garden at the end of March because I think that was way too late. Next we're gonna do collard greens, and I love collard greens, so we're definitely gonna plant several of these. Actually, 2, 4, 6 collard green plants is probably plenty. I think that we had 3 last year and that was good, but I'm definitely gonna plant some more. Collard greens are one of my favorite greens. I like to fry mine in bacon grease and chopped bacon and garlic salt and some red pepper flakes. That was a recipe that my friend gave me back when I was really learning how to cook with fresh produce, and her family always grew a really nice garden, and so she always had some good stuff. So we'll do 2 seeds in 3 cells. Will we though? Oh my gosh, these collard green seeds are just as small as the broccoli seeds. They look exactly like the broccoli seeds. Don't get your stuff mixed up because you'll never be able to tell them apart until they start to grow. So we'll stick these right in there. Oh, yeah, I think I just put 3 in there. That's okay though. The more the merrier. If 3 pop up, well, I can separate those out. These little pots are way too small to keep more than 1 seedling in for very long. So I guess this will just keep me motivated to up pot when the time comes. Y'all, I just planted 12, possibly 13 collard plants. Greens for days. The sad thing about greens is that you really can't, I mean, I guess you can freeze them, but they're not the same. I mean, that's really if you're going to use them for That's really if you're going to use them for like boiling them down. You can do that, but I like to eat mine a little bit more fresh. But that's okay, because here's the thing. Not a lot of people up here know a lot about collard greens. So maybe if I have too many collard green plants, I can share some and share the love for collard greens, because they are amazing. And these are the Georgia Southern Creole variety. All right. So now I've got my broccoli and my collards. Now I'm going to do my cabbage. So I don't love coleslaw like that you get out at the store. Like if we go to get barbecue, or, you know, anytime we go to KFC, I don't want coleslaw. But my friend who gave me the collard green recipe also gave me a really great recipe for coleslaw. And it is the only one that I'll eat. It's so very simple and bright. Like whenever you eat it, it's just amazing. So these are gonna have to be. But in addition to coleslaw, my hope for the cabbage this year is to ferment it into sauerkraut, because we do love to have kielbasa and sauerkraut with a really good Polish mustard on occasion. There's a really good Polish deli not too far from the house here, and we'll go and get dinner from there some nights. That's good. So it'd be nice to be able to make some of that stuff at home. Plus, fermented foods are good for you, for your stomach, and I have, you know, hereditary stomach issues that I think I will benefit from the addition of fermented foods. So we've got peppers, we've got our brassicas, and now we're going to start some herbs. So we're going to do some sage. Now here's the deal. It is quite early to be starting some herbs. However, I can start some herbs now, and then in a month or so, start another round of herbs. And then the herbs that I'm growing indoors can be kitchen herbs. I can keep them in little pots in the kitchen, have fresh herbs to use until the rest of the stuff is maturing into the summer. And that's sort of what the plan's gonna be. So, had a hard time getting some of my seeds from my favorite seed companies. I usually order from M.I. Gardener and Baker Creek, but it's very easy to be a little spendy when it comes to seeds, especially if you have just completely fallen in love with the process of seed starting and growing your own food. And so Baker Creek is a little bit on the more expensive side, totally worth it. Actually, and you know, they're really not even much more expensive than the Fairy Morse and Burpee seeds that you can buy at Walmart. I want to say that the majority of the packs of seeds that I buy from Baker Creek are about $2.50 a pack. And I mean, this Fairy Morse is $1.50, and I know that I bought some Burpee ones that were $2, $2.50. So, you know, they're not much more expensive. M.I. Gardener, on the other hand, they're 99 cents a pack. But they sell out really quickly, and so I was waitlisted for a lot of things, and sage was one of them. So I had to go buy the Fairy Morse sage. So this is broadleaf sage. And I've mentioned before that if you've been a part of my Facebook Live videos ever, I've mentioned before that what we usually do with our herbs is, you know, we'll cook with them fresh throughout the summer, of course, but we like to grow a lot of herbs, and when it's time to harvest them, bring them in and dry them. And then we have these dried herbs that we grew all winter. And I do get a little nervous, like as we get towards the end of winter and I start to get low, because I'm like, I don't want to go buy herbs from the store. I love mine so much. All right, so sage is planted. Gosh, so all these seeds are like teeny tiny brown balls. It's so hard to see them. What's next? We'll put all of our basils together. Thyme, lemon balm. Let's do rosemary next. I'm really excited about rosemary. I'm hoping, and this is just regular Fairy Morse rosemary. I'm really hoping that I can get some of this rosemary to go like in a pot, maybe in my front yard, or like a large pot, or maybe even plant it right in the ground, so that it can become a rosemary bush. Because rosemary is one of my favorites, and it's one of those things that's so lovely just to walk by and run your hands through and then smell it. And it's good for, gosh, so much. You can use it to make tea, to cook with, to grill with. You can use it as tiny seeds. You can use it as an aromatic for your house. Sometimes I like to throw a couple of sprigs of rosemary in a little pot of water with some lemon and a little splash of vanilla. Is that the seed? It is, okay. And turn it on and let it come to a boil. Then I'll turn it down to a simmer, and it will make the house smell really nice. So there's definitely a lot of love for rosemary in this house, and I would love to have a bigger plant of it. I have seen it. My friend back home had a rosemary, but like it was like a huge, like a shrub, but it was rosemary in her front yard. And I was like, that is a goal of mine. And I think this needs some shade. So this is perfect for like my front yard, where I want to grow so many things, but it just gets a lot of shade and dappled sunlight. So that would be perfect for that spot. Uh-oh. How many of these did I do? Did I accidentally plant in here? No, maybe not. And I guess we find out. So next up, we'll do some oregano. Gosh, some of these have such long germination times. But it's fun though, like when you are growing seeds and you put your little tray of seeds in the greenhouse, and when things start popping up, it's like a fun little game. Like you go down there and you're like, what came up last night while I was sleeping? And then as you, oh my gosh, every time I open up a pack, the seeds just get smaller and smaller. Holy moly. Holy moly. You know what? This is, okay, so this is oregano. I can't even describe to you how tiny these seeds are. So here's my plan, because there's no way at all that I'm going to be able to pick up individual. I don't even know if that's going to focus or not. Let me see if I can tap it to focus. There's no way I'm going to be able to pick up little teeny tiny oregano seeds. So my plan here is to just sprinkle. Don't know how many are going to go in there. And when they start popping up, I will have to thin them. And that's kind of heartbreaking, because I don't like to thin. I would rather separate and give them a chance, but if all of those germinate, there's going to be like 12. Okay. Sorry about that. I had to take a phone call, and so I am back. And while I was on the phone, I did a little bit of planting myself. So I don't remember where we left off. Teeny tiny seeds, I'm sure, because they've just gotten smaller. But I'm planting now all of my basil. I've planted, this is my 4th variety. We love basil. And this is, I've planted Genovese basil, holy basil, purple basil, and now I'm planting some cinnamon basil. These cinnamon basil seeds were free seeds from Baker Creek last year. So, but we've grown them before. In fact, our very first garden that we grew back in Arkansas 9 years ago, it's been 9 years, we grew cinnamon basil, and it was really good. So. All right, I have one more row, and I think I'm gonna plant. I really don't need to, I really don't need to plant this lemon balm yet, but I'm going to. Lemon balm. So lemon balm is a mint. So this is definitely something that's going to stay in a container and not go in any of the garden beds outside, because mint is pretty invasive. This says that it's not as invasive as mint, but I definitely don't want to take any chances with anything like that. Good news is we're not bleeding yet, so I guess maybe I just snipped the surface. These little tiny seeds. Again, I'm just going to sprinkle them on there, and then what germinates, we'll just thin them out. And they're so tiny and so dark that when I go to like cover them, don't even know if they're being covered adequately. Guess we will find out. And then the last thing I have here is dill. Now, I have no idea, because this was a free packet, so it doesn't give me any information. I don't really know how dill grows, how I'm supposed to plant it, if I'm supposed to do anything special. But we will roll the dice on this. And I'll look it up after the video, and if I've done it wrong, well, then I'll do it again. Oh, but the good news is these seeds are quite, not like large, but I mean, I can grab them. I can grab them one at a time and drop them in there. That's exciting. That's the little things. I'm really very excited about getting these seeds started. I have been feeling so behind. And I know that that's because I follow a lot of gardeners who are gardening in more southern grow zones. And so they are, they need to start earlier than I do. But it's hard not to feel like you're running late when like all these people are starting their seeds and putting their gardens together, and I'm over here like, well, it's only February. We could still get a pretty good snowstorm in March. In fact, I kind of have a feeling that's how March is going to go for us. Like, we've had such a mild winter. We've had very little snow. We've had like a couple of dustings and one snow event that was like 2 to 3 inches. So we haven't had much snow at all. And I feel like we're not gonna just completely cancel out our yearly average. So I have a feeling that we're gonna get slammed in March. I want to say it's one of those in like a lion, out like a lamb kind of things, but even the immediate forecast for the next week, like next 10 days, doesn't really show anything, but I feel like March is going to be when we really get slaughtered, and that's unfortunate because that's when a lot of my frost hardy things can go out, but there's a difference in frost hardy and 3 feet of snow hardy. So I definitely will have to use row covers and high tunnels and stuff, or low tunnels rather. But I am very pleased to have planted some stuff today. So anyway, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I really look forward to our next video together. So y'all take it easy.